The Marinade.
There's no O in Marinade. Let's try it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The Marinade.
Marinade.
Bone marinade. The
That's
Marinade.
The Marinade. With Jason Earle. Welcome to Marinade Moments, the show where I tell stories from a life well attended. This is episode 3. On episode 2, I mentioned the first time I saw Justin Townes Earle live, and I wanted to dive deeper into that special experience on this installment of Marinade Moments. In the mid-2000s, I was in a serious relationship with a woman who worked in the fashion industry in New York City. At the time, I was in law school in Jacksonville, Florida. So to keep the relationship alive, I spent a ton of time in the Big Apple. I was up there at least once a month, and then during the summers and Christmas break and spring break, any time I had off, I would spend weeks to months in Manhattan with her. And I don't have to tell y'all that there's no shortage of things to do in New York City. And I endeavored at that time, despite my lack of resources, to consume as many of those experiences as possible since I had an appetite that did not match my resources. There was a concert series called Rocks Off that shoved off in the Harlem River and kissed up against the Statue of Liberty, went under the Brooklyn Bridge, and made its way back to port, all the while with a concert going on. And this particular night, August 10th, 2008, featured Justin Townes Earle with a 3-piece, and they were opening for the almighty Lucero, who I was just an enormous fan of and still am. I was just days away from flying to Holland to work at the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia for 3 months. It was a very exciting time in my life. It was a time when I was very open to experiences, and I was consuming a ton of music. Justin's debut full-length, The Good Life, had only been out in the world for a few short months by this point. I think it was released in March of that same year. And I'd been into his music since the prior year's Yuma EP, which I loved, and had been a fan of Lucero since about 2002 or 2003, from some of the earlier days of their records being released. And their record, Rebels, Rogues, and Sworn Brothers, which is to this day my favorite of theirs, was a few years old at this point, and they were still playing a set list that was heavy on those tunes. The thing I remember most about Justin was something that Sammy K captured really well when we talked about Justin during his episode of The Marinade, during Sammy's episode of The Marinade. There was this undeniable swagger and charm to the way Justin commanded a stage. There's a line in Jason Isbell's incredible tribute to Justin, When We Were Close, where he says, "Got a picture of us playing in a bar, and your shirt cost more than your guitar, but you played so heavy, and you always let me sing a couple even though you were the star." And coming from someone like Isbell, that carries a lot of weight, right? Isbell captures the experience of seeing Justin live with those lines. He always looked and carried himself so cool. There was such a confidence to him on stage. And they're funny to say it that way because there wasn't really a stage on this cruise. Folks were either just on the floor in front of the performers or up in the balcony on this tiny little riverboat. I've only so far found one photo of Justin from that night, although I know there are more somewhere on a hard drive or up in the clouds somewhere, and I'm going to do some digging and find it. But in that picture, the folks are crowded around him with a harmonica player stage left. And a photo of the two of us after the show exists somewhere. Justin in his sweat-soaked undershirt right after his set, just before Lucero took the stage. There's like a manic energy about him that I remember at that time. My head swimming in this room that was drunk and hot. I look like a mess in the photos, almost unrecognizable, to the man now in his 40s. And I guess we were all kind of a mess then, but didn't realize it, all kind of unknowingly enabling each other. Lucero went on to play one of their legendary Burn It All Down sets, and by the end, it was tough to tell where the band ended and the crowd began. We were just all screaming Lucero songs into the sticky atmosphere. There was something special happening in what we now call Americana and used to call alt country at that time. I would go on to see Justin several more times and catch Lucero at every chance, but I cherish those hazy early 2000s shows. Stay tuned for more Marinade moments, y'all. Comment or reach out via email or DM if you have Justin Towns, Earle, or Lucero story to share. Share this link on social media. Y'all, let's keep this conversation going and celebrate the magic of live music together.